What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal. So, when people think of haunted places, they typically think of like old Victorian mansions or cemeteries like we like to hang out in, but you never really think of your just average, ordinary workplace. And that is exactly where we're at tonight. And I'm with one of the employees here today who asked us to come out here and check this place out. And rather than just give a big old speech, I'm going to let you kind of give us your experiences, some of the other employees' experiences that you guys have experienced here with why and why you think this place is haunted. So,
A couple of us have had a few different experiences. I've heard whistling. A friend of mine seen black masses pass through. I've heard laughing and screaming. My husband and I both have heard that. Upstairs, they've caught a few orbs on cameras, motion detectors, I guess, going off, or video cameras. But yeah, there's just been a few things around here. Most of us have seen a couple things, some haven't, but
okay.
and it seems to happen more so in the early morning hours.
Okay. All right. And when we were talking earlier about this, you did mention that, and this is important to note, that when these things happen, it's not like, everybody's here working. It's usually just one or two people. And again, what's really cool about this is that it's different people that are claiming to see or hear things. So it's not just the same person every time. You got multiple staff members that work here that are, experiencing some kind of activity. So that's something hopeful to go on. So we're hoping we're going to catch something tonight. We kind of got the lay of the place, so we're got some avenues we're going to track down. Another thing that's interesting to note is that, from what I understand, a past employee passed away, not too long ago. So who knows? Maybe it's a residual haunting from this guy. So we're going to get into this, and we'll see what's what.
All right, so I thought I heard it again. It's like the REM pod went off. Anyway, so I keep hearing it clicking. But anyway, so we're in the kind of like a back room in the building. This area, there was an employee that used to work here that passed away some time ago, and this was like an area that he did come into a lot. And it's kind of one of our theories with this is that maybe he's returning here. It's just kind of a thought, like just trying to figure out like who could actually be here, why we're getting all this activity. But we decided we would start in this area, do a spirit box session, maybe hopefully something. We've already kind of had some weird stuff going on in here, weird noises, like sound of a voice. So it seems like it's starting to ramp up a little bit. So we figured why not start here and just go with the spirit box session and see how that goes. So without further ado. All right, so is there somebody that's been following us around tonight? Said yes. There's somebody that's been talking? No, it seemed like it. When it started, it was like pretty.
You were picking something up, yeah.
Yeah, now it's just kind of dying off a little bit. Well, yeah, we seem to use that one a lot too. I don't know why. Have you? Do you hang out in this room a lot? I don't know what that said, but it sounded like a woman came across and said something. That didn't sound like. It didn't sound like radio.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of hit or miss there. Now, that was pretty funny. But the only thing is that whenever you mentioned that, it did sound like it said his name. I just didn't process that until after you said that. And I was like, it did kind of sound like that. I'll have to go back and listen. But at the very beginning, I thought I heard it over there.
It's the second time it's come from that direction.
It's like a weird, like...
Let's go check it out. It's probably absolutely nothing, but...
Probably, but why not?
Okay.
Was somebody in here just a moment ago? It's still going. Just want to make sure like nothing's getting shut off here because we do have times where it seems like something will come through and just wipe out the battery life on stuff. It could be. We had that happen at a place we went to a couple months ago where it wiped everything out in seconds. Everything wiped out. Like nothing worked. We have like an industrial light that wiped out right away. It's crazy. So sometimes that does happen. But if there is anybody in here, what I'd like for you to do, if you don't want to do it while we're right here, when we walk out of here, I want you to go over to this box that has this red light, and I want you to just get next to it so that it'll pick up your presence. So we're going to go ahead and walk out of here, and we'll come back in a little bit. But if you can go next to that box, we'd appreciate it a lot. All right, so I think we'll probably go ahead and just move to a different spot and maybe do another spirit box session and then an EVP and see what we pick up.
Okay. So we moved into an area of the shop floor to, because we were actually just in a back room looking at some security footage from cameras inside the building. And we saw something moving quickly, like from camera to camera, like all over the shop. Couldn't really tell what it was. And this is one of the places that I saw the little movement by. So we decided to post up over here. We're doing everything lights out. And we want to try to see if we can get something to come over the spirit box on this. So let's do it.
Yep. Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. How important?
It approves. It approves.
approves.
That's really cool, guys. Keep up the good work.
I like that. Ghost approved.
Is it friendly ghost at least?
Yeah.
Very cool, guys.
Very cool.
Or is this something different? Is this something that lived here a long time ago before this building was even here?
Yes. That was a clear yes.
Okay. Do you not like this building here? If it's easier, you can get close to this box we have on this table. I think you might have already gotten close to it before. But all you got to do is get close. As you can see, it sets the little lights off. I'll walk away so I don't crowd you. Can you get close to that box for me? It won't hurt you. You just saw me touch it. It just lets us know you're here because we can't see you. That was freaking interesting.
That was
Funny that you asked that because I've always had the feeling that it's not somebody that's been
yeah,
here.
somebody that died here.
But remember when I told you it's more than one?
Yeah.
It's somebody on this. It's more than one on this land.
It could be that somebody
Yeah.
had a
That's how
house
I've
here at
always
one point. You know, it's funny because you'd mentioned that on the way here, that it's very possible that this is something that lived here a long time ago. And honestly, I mean, that was very interesting because this seemed like it was communicating right away. You know,
This was the only building on the street for the longest time.
Okay.
None of this other shit was here from what Stoney has told me about this building.
what is that?
What? Is it the whistling?
No, it sounds like music. You didn't hear that?
Yeah, I heard music earlier, but I didn't say anything to y'all because I thought it was just me hearing shit.
I kind of heard something.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like a music box.
Yeah, so
From
like it had
over
like a
here.
dee 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 dee. Like
Yeah.
it was. I heard it again.
When I was,
Is your spirit box? Maybe my spirit box is on? I don't think so.
no, when I was standing
I
there
can
waiting
still
for
hear.
y'all to tell me to click the lights off, I heard it. When y'all went up through there and did your phantom.
What is that? Is there an air handle or something on?
That's what that sounds like. Maybe like a vent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that's anything, but that music I could hear that it was very faint
Yeah.
though.
Sound like very faint. That's why I thought maybe I'm just hearing it through that.
Yeah,
Or
I don't know what the hell that was.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that too.
I don't know.
I heard your name 3 times.
It whispered it at the end. It was like, hey, man.
I heard it like the second time.
I heard it twice before.
Interesting. But I think we should follow that thread, man.
Yeah.
We'll post up somewhere else that we think some stuff's happening, maybe up in that front corner office.
I think we should maybe split off and see if
Okay.
whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to overrule it, but I think what we should do is split off.
Okay.
Do our own spirit box because I want to see. It seems like it really likes talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to.
So we've come full circle, and we're kind of back where we started. And the reason I'm back in this room is because Kenny was in here a moment ago with his thermal doing a spirit box session, and we had the REM pod set up again. and he got a lot of activity on the REM pod that's sitting on this machine right here. And this seems to be like the main area where all of this, there's a connecting hallway on the other side, and this seems to be the area where a lot of stuff keeps happening. Yeah, he got a bunch of hits on the REM pods. Hopefully he picked up something on the thermal, so I decided to come back in here because apparently my name came up again on the spirit box session. And yeah, kind of wanted to see for myself to see if I could get him to do anything. Yeah, so just lost my whole train of thought because I'm interested in what's going on. And yeah, so I'm going to kind of talk and see if I can get anything to happen. Interestingly enough, when I walked in the room and set them both up, they both can kind of chirping. I mean, both of them were chirping simultaneously. It was kind of odd. So yeah, so I'm going to post up in here and knock out a spirit box session and see if I can get any activity on the REM pod here or the one behind me. So, are you trying to scare us? Are you trying to get us to leave the building? When I was in the hallway earlier, you were making the box chirp every time I said the word scared. We also noticed that the video cameras that we were looking at earlier over the whole building has now been shut off. Did you do that? You want to talk to me, say Matt. Do you like that I'm here right now? So what did you do before this building was here? What was your trade? We're by the beach. Did you do anything with ships? You didn't do anything with ships. So did I get that number right? Did I get the count that there's 7 people here? Are you including us, or is that you, the ones we can't see? Right, there's 7 people here. I got that. Again, are we part of that 7? Are there only 4 of you here? Or are there actually 7 of you here? It's one of interesting. I definitely need to go back through the evidence later and confirm a lot what I just heard, but it sounded like I had some clear communication going there again. It sounded like somebody did, in fact, log out of the security cameras. It sounded like that I was, speaking to more than one person. It sounded like I heard the number 7 a couple of times. So it seems like there's 7 entities here. I wasn't sure if they were including us in that number or not, but the other thing that came through pretty strongly was that they had nothing to do with ships or anything like that. Again, we're right by the beach. I figured it'd be a good question to ask. So interesting. I didn't get a whole lot of activity. We got a little chirping coming out of the boxes. It doesn't look like anything left or anything happened when I left the room. So again, I'll go back to the footage and see if I missed anything, and we'll go from here.
So we'll go ahead and see if anything wants to speak with me in here. If you do, I would greatly appreciate it. This is only to figure out if you're with me in here or not. So I'll start with this, of course. Peace.
Can you say my name? Can you say Kenny? Can you tell me again? Is that you messing with the REM pod? Are you over by that REM pod? Can you mess with it? Yes? Did you say yes? Maybe if I stand over here with you, maybe use my energy to mess with that REM pod. Take some of my energy and mess with it. Can you do that? Can you do it? Do you like being in over here? I see it, man. I see it. Do that again. Do that again. This is the REM pod. I'll walk away. Maybe if I set you over here, can you do that right here? Let me see. Yep, absolutely. Still doing it, huh? Are you here with me right now? Are you messing with that? Can you tell me that? Do that again. Now that I can record the light, keep doing that. So maybe you can use that box to communicate with me. Why don't we try that? If you're in here with me, get next to that box and make it set off. If I ask you questions, can you answer it through that box by getting close to it? If you can answer it, get close for a yes. Try again. Maybe this will help. The box that's right in front of us, can you set it off again? Are you just not interested in doing this anymore? It's not anything in this area that's messing this thing up. I just had it over here, and I had it over here. And as you can see, during the beginning of this and midway through, it started going off a lot. Yet nothing is setting it off now, which makes me believe something was messing with it. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and end it in here, though, because it's really not going any further. And maybe we'll pick it up somewhere else.
All right, so it's been a really, really interesting night here tonight at Surfwater. A lot of evidence to go through and a lot of puzzle pieces to fit together. I've got some interesting things on the spirit box. Kenny had some really interesting things happen with REM pods. On top of that, we had weird things happen across like the security cameras that we can't explain. People were hearing music, like music boxes, things like that. So yeah, it's been an interesting night, and again, a lot of footage to go back through and check out, and hopefully we caught something substantial. So that is it for us for right now from Paranormal, and we'll see you in the recap.
See you then.
All right, so Surfwater, yeah, man. interesting investigation for sure. Probably because this is the first like building with a history, so to speak. We actually got asked to go out and investigate, so that was really cool for us. I mean, up to this point, we've been doing largely cemeteries, which there's nothing wrong with that. We get a lot of interesting things at cemeteries, but there's so many different histories there. It's kind of hard to dial into one thing or another. This, to a certain degree, wasn't any different, but it was really nice to have employees, kind of sharing their experience with us about what they've had there. It isn't just one; it was several employees that have all experienced something different there at one time or another. So we had something to kind of pull from. And what was really cool about the evening is we started like kind of delving into the spirit boxes and things like that. The more information we were able to glean out of like some of these spirit box sessions. It was definitely a completely different vibe than what we normally do. It was a good learning curve.
Yeah.
If nothing else for us is, I mean, shoot, we've only been investigating for a little over a year now. So there's definitely a lot more to learn. And this was a good place to cut our teeth with actually, investigating a place that people have claimed to be haunted. So if you want to give your initial take, I'll give mine.
Yeah, I was actually genuinely surprised at how much we really got going in there. It seemed, when I'd worked there previously, and like there was a couple small things that happened, but it was never enough for me to really think something was going on in there. Of course, I was never there early hours, which is when everybody claims most of the stuff happens. But I walked out of there actually really surprised at how much had not only occurred, but what we had gotten. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Obviously, I'd never been employed there, and we have a theory about some things that happened later on that. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, kind of didn't know what to expect, really. I mean, I was kind of just going off of her experiences. We had one of the employees there with us that night, kind of telling us what she experienced. And I didn't want to use that to like kind of flavor my experience, like, because I think that can happen. I think people can be like, oh, I heard this or this happened. So you kind of like expect the same things to happen. So you're looking for it. But instead, we started off in a room, and you know the name of the room better than I do. I still can't get all the equipment rooms
like
down.
the screen room.
The screen room. And we kind of did our first spirit box session in there. And that room seemed to be like the heart of everything that was happening in that building anyways. A lot of what people have claimed to see or hear happens in the hallway just on the other side of the wall of that room we were in. And even we had some weird experiences there. I mean, right from the jump, you were into that first spirit box session, and we heard things moving in the hallway. Like it almost sounded like the door handle was moving. Things like that kept happening the entire time we were in that room. And then we kind of branched out from there and, explored other parts of it. But again, that room kind of seemed to be the crux of everything that happened. And
It was funny too to be able to like hear that sound of that door handle, because the door itself wouldn't really stay shut. Something was wrong with it. But, we heard the handle itself because we weren't closing the door once we realized it wasn't working. But at least 4 or 5 different times we heard that handle jiggle, and then went over to the cameras, and that was pretty interesting how that all, I don't know, I still don't understand how that happened like that with the cameras. But I don't know if you wanted to lead in on that.
now go for it, brother. You started it.
I gotta do it. I gotta finish it. But what's interesting is I think Matt had first gone up, and they had the cameras like right there in the office. You can kind of see when you're walking around through the hall, and something had caught Matt's eye, so he went back over, and he'd seen some movement on the camera, and Angie and I walked up, and right at the weirdest thing is that each of us saw movement on different cameras. Because I thought when we were all being like, I saw, we're all thinking we saw the same one, but it was in different areas. And it was really odd. I never really seen anything like that on a camera, because it just seemed like almost like this fade, like it just kind of went through real quick, and then it appeared on a different side and then moved to a different side. I don't know exactly what that is, but it did seem like maybe something, if it wasn't trying to get our attention, it was trying to escape away from,
Yeah, man, it was interesting. And again, haven't really experienced anything like that before, obviously, but it is. So this is a business. So there were security cameras and recording everything. There's probably best guess that I can remember, probably 11 or 12 cameras.
Yeah.
So you're looking at this giant monitor with them all in different banks, and again, like Kenny said, I'm watching one thing on one camera. It didn't really have a recognizable shape or a feature, but
Yeah.
it kept moving like quickly. And it would move out of one camera angle into the next frame. And then you would notice something at a completely different thing. It was just this bizarre thing. But it takes an even weirder turn. So we kind of went up and did some more investigating. And I was like, well, let me go back and check this bank. And, I plan to get some of this on video. So I went back in there when I was doing like a solo session in that hallway. Uh, and the cameras had completely been logged out of. Now, we did a little bit more investigation on that. And from my understanding, the only way you can do that is if somebody logs into that computer that, this is filming off of and logs it out. And from what we were told by the employees that work there, that never happens. They keep it rolling all night for security reasons. Obviously, that's kind of the point of why they're there. And so nobody did that. Nobody went into this computer and logged out of the security cameras. People knew that we were there, obviously.
Well, it's odd the timing of it too, because we had just pointed it out.
Yeah.
We'd seen something, all of a sudden it just went out. It was,
Again, not saying that's ghost-related activity or paranormal-related activity, but it is bizarre and it's worth noting.
the timing's a little odd.
Yeah. How you see something moving on cameras and then 1 minute you're looking at it and the next minute it's just logged out. Which again, nobody claimed to do. So again, bizarre. But I think the weirdest thing for me, going back through all the footage and we got a little bit of some activity on the REM pods and I didn't see a whole lot of weird things happen on the thermals when I went back through and watched that video. But I think the crowning oddity of this whole experience with this investigation was the spirit box sessions. And I know people are very dubious about spirit box sessions because, again, you can kind of push that in a direction where you want it to go. But there was just a completely different quality to what we were getting this time. And I think we were out in like the main bay of this shop. We turned all the lights off. We wanted a lights out session. And we were kind of like dialing into what we were talking to because we were getting some weird hits on it. And I think I finally asked, okay, is because we were basing all of this on the assumption that there was a couple of employees there, I think one specifically that had passed maybe a couple of years back, and maybe that this was his ghost. Just kind of maybe doing, business as usual or maybe checking in on people that were there. So we kind of started with that whole premise. And then we didn't seem to get a lot with that, so I wanted to move past it. And I was like, okay, so because obviously the area we're in is very old and this building wasn't here forever. And so I don't remember specifically what I asked, but it was like, have you been here a long time or something along those lines? And we started getting more direct responses. So carrying that further, obviously Kenny and I split up to tackle different rooms, do different spirit box sessions. And without a doubt, Kenny started getting the same theme with every single one of his spirit box sessions, no matter where he was. And that was a pretty solid, we don't want you here. He kept getting, leave, go to hell, get out of here,
The craziest
I hate
one
you.
was, I'd heard, and it was, Angie had just walked outside. This is where, when I was going back and listening to it, it kind of caught, I guess you would say my ear, but Angie had just gone outside. And I think right before that, I had made a comment about walking out too. And then I started doing that spirit box session, and it, was doing the leave, and then it says, go outside. And I'm listening to it, I'm like, and you can hear like another little girl's voice say, leave. And I was like, okay, whatever this is, does not want me here, which we assumed is because maybe since I'd been there before, it was familiar with me. It was odd, man.
It didn't like you, but it did seem to like me. And
Yeah.
Kenny brought up a theory earlier this evening when we were kind of just going over everything before we started this, was that maybe it's because I was the newcomer. Kenny and the other employee that were there, Angie, obviously Angie works there currently. They're familiar faces, and maybe that they were tired of that, or who knows what. But they made it very clear they didn't like you. But they did seem, I don't want to say attracted to me, but
I feel like they were,
go wherever I was.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think there's some reason to that. I think it's because I was the new guy.
they were willing to listen and talk to you more than anything.
Yeah.
The only thing that I thought was odd was that with that screen room, because I think, which might have been what you're about to go into, is about like how active it was. But when I was in there, I was doing a spirit box session, and I really never had like a moment where I'm doing that solo in like a room. So I shut off the lights because I was like, if this thing really doesn't want me here, it's gonna tell me. And it seemed like that at first, and I was getting like these kind of responses like go, and it was, but there wasn't a lot coming across the spirit box. And I'm sitting there like, okay, maybe there's not really anything in here. And then I said, maybe if I leave and go, because the screen room has a room right behind it, and I said, maybe if I leave and go in this room, you'll come in. And then as soon as I walked out, the REM pod just started firing off. And it was really weird because I grabbed it and I'm looking around. I'm like, what could have set this thing off? Could not figure it out. And that's when I kind of put it together. I was like, this thing, it does not want me here, but it wants to communicate. So I was like, it has to be something with Matt. And I think that's whenever you went in and did yours.
Yeah, I did it right out. In fact, you had came out and told me what you experienced in there. And I said, all right, because we were kind of wrapping things up. And I was like, well, let me go in there and do another spirit box session. And that spirit box session, in my opinion, and granted, this is just my opinion, to me, gave us the most headway that evening. We uncovered a lot. You saw in the video. I started asking a little bit more questions. We learned a little, while before kind of getting into all these rooms that the area where we're in, there used to be like a shipbuilder there. We're doing the yawning.
Yep.
It's that time of night.
To be fair, we're doing this one a little later than usual. It's like the yawning.
We've both
was-
been at work all day. We have day jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we learned that it was like a shipbuilding place way early days. So I kept hitting them on that, and I was getting adamant, no, we didn't build ships. That's not what we did. And then for some reason it dawned on me, because I kept hearing different voices, that I think when you're doing investigations like this, you tend to focus on one idea and you run with it. And that was, okay, we're talking to one person and one person only. And then it started to like clued in on that same investigation, or that same REM pod session. All right, maybe I'm talking to more than one person. And at one point in the video, you can hear it, but it's faint. They actually answer me, because I'm like, oh, how many people am I talking to? And the answer that I kept getting was 7. So again, that room seemed to be at the heart of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's really where things took off for me, was that last spirit box session, because I was getting direct responses to questions I was asking. I mean, they were kind of trying to tell me what was going on, I think. It's just hard to communicate through that medium. They told me the number of them there were, and I think I was even starting to piss them off near the end, because I had to laugh. There was a very distinct "I hate you."
Yeah.
So maybe I'd worn out my welcome at that point. I don't know. But
Yeah, it did feel like whatever was in there was just like, it was willing to just let us know a little bit, and then just to be like, get the hell out,
leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, a crazy investigation.
Yeah.
Definitely something to the place. Like we always say, you go back, you watch what we found. I mean, it's your determination whether you think any of that was paranormal or could be related to something else.
Yeah.
It's a place I'd like to go back to.
Yeah.
And
It'd be nice to see if we get the same kind of responses, I
well,
thought
not just
about
that, but go back maybe, because we were there, around 11 o'clock that night?
Yeah.
And the people that experience what they've been experiencing are all around the same time, like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's like, I don't know if you'll make it.
I started it now. There's no
You
stopping
got to
it.
do it on a Saturday.
But I'd like to go there if my old man bedtime will allow it,
Yeah.
around like 1:30 to 2
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning, because that's when like an early shift gets there to get some
Yeah.
stuff done. And that's really when things like start ratcheting up. And maybe even go in like one person at a time,
Yeah.
rather than, have a bunch of us in there. Who knows? Just to
Yeah.
kind of recreate some of the same
We
experiences.
can kind of send you in and see, like, just to start it off and see
Yeah.
how that goes,
and see what we get and what we don't get, and see if any of that lines up, because we didn't really experience anything that anybody personally had experienced there, like the whistling
Yeah.
noises, the shadow figures that people had kept seeing. But that doesn't mean that isn't happening. I mean,
Right.
as we've talked about on here before, and I think the more actual places, not just cemeteries, but places with histories that we go and investigate, it's going to be the same thing. It's literally like fishing.
Yep.
Just because a place is really active one day,
Yep.
it may not be active again for another week. It's just how these things go. So
We've had that happen a few times.
Yeah.
One time it'll just be really good, and then sometimes nothing happens, so.
But definitely a place I want to go back to. Enjoyed the shit out of this investigation. And looking forward to go back again, and hopefully this will open up some opportunities for some other ones.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love cemeteries, but
Yeah.
they
We're tired of being in the cold.
right. It was nice to be indoors for
Yeah.
once, if nothing else. So That's all I've got. Unless
Yep.
you got anything else you want
That was
to
pretty much
share
it.
with the crowd.
Yeah.
As always, thank you for anybody that's showing your support by following us. And if you're new to the channel, please give us a like and a follow as well. And we'll keep creating more stuff. We're definitely, regardless, we're going to go find or try to find more paranormal activity out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Sounds
all
good.
right. We will see you next time.
See you then.